License Committee at 6:16.
Second.
Thank
Well,
you.
you don't need a second for that, but you got one.
And we have a lot of business to do tonight, but we have a guest. And so I think we should speak with the guest first.
Sure.
And then we'll hopefully get through our business as fast as we can. And I am not exactly sure how long this will take with the guest, but we will find out. And what I would like to do is, I can tell you what I would like to do, but I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Martinez. I will go first, if you don't mind. And I'm going to read a couple of the letters that were sent to us from the Attorney General's office. And they're not long. I'm going to ask, I think it's only fair to ask Mr. Martinez to give an answer from his viewpoint. And then I'm going to call on both of you, and you can certainly follow up as we go through. Just ask questions if you,
Ty,
when you're ready, please.
is any of this what we covered at the last
No, these are
meeting with
not.
Mr. Onassis? Okay,
I'm not asking anything that we've already covered.
fair enough, thank you.
Point of, if I can follow, if I may follow up.
Yes.
I share the same concern Councilor DeSimone shares. Is this part of the packet that came down over the summer?
Yes.
Okay. I feel that it is part of the same discussion then, even though we didn't read it publicly. I would just recommend tread lightly.
Yes.
So if it is part of the packet, if Mr. Martinez has that packet with him, what I would do is, like we did last time he was here, just reference the car, whatever, 1996,
Right.
whatever, instead of reading it, so that way, we'll have it in front of us, he'll have it in front of him, and then he can answer any questions.
Well, these are short, and I'm better off reading it to get the information out correctly.
Okay.
Mr. Martinez, if you could approach us, share your full name, your address, and place of business, please.
Onassis Martinez, 93 Riverside Avenue in Warwick, Rhode Island. This business is State of Rhode Island State Constable, and on the dealership in 100% auto.
And then after I read this, I'm going to go slowly, and you have all the packets now.
Correct, I do.
Correct. That is good.
Just for the record, I think the president did say not to go back to 2018 or 20 or 19, something like that. I'm not for what, that's what he said last time.
These don't go beyond, these all are from 1918 forward, they're from 1918 forward, but they're from 2018 forward. But they're more recent than that.
All
Okay.
right, so if you can just tell us which one so we can refer to it?
The first one regards a 2003 Ford Ranger.
Can I have the customer's name?
I would just give the first name point of order.
The first name of the person?
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah. So I copied them off here, just one page, not the page that had his name on it, or her name on it. So I have to go back myself
Well,
and find that first name.
his name is Peter Howe, Houle.
Did you find the Ford Ranger? Sorry for the delay. I wasn't planning to use names, but I will. First name.
All right, so in the complete summary, the complaint summary, it says 2003 Ford Ranger.
Correct. The name?
No, he has
I
it.
have- I
He
have
doesn't,
it.
we don't need the name. He knows what we're talking about, so if you want to go ahead, I'll just
All right.
keep looking for it.
This is just one paragraph. I purchased a 2003 Ford Ranger from 100% Auto Wholesalers. They had the truck inspected. When I got the truck home, I noticed some problems, which I thought the truck should not have passed inspection. I brought the truck to the Rhode Island Division of Motor Vehicles in Providence for a re-inspection. The truck failed with 14 defects. We had a hard time getting our $6,000 back, but they refused. That means to me that they did get their $6,000 back, actually. But they refused to give me the dock fee of $250. I am also out $505 for registration, sales, and title fees. I think since this truck was able to pass a real inspection, he should be responsible to refund me all those fees. I can fax all paperwork to you to prove my claim. And I received a refund of $6,000 on 11/22/21. Is there any comments on this particular issue?
Yes.
That you'd like to
So
share with us?
if we inspect somebody's vehicle, they have all the right to go contest the inspection. Now, I don't do the inspections. We bring it to any facility nearby for Rhode Island, and we go the same way for Mass. So we bring it down, she picked up the car, she has some concerns, she bring it to contest the inspection. Now, after do a contest, I could go through every point, the 14 defects that they say. It could be the smallest thing to a windshield wiper to a lug nut. I decided just to pay them out. I paid them out. She drove her car 229 miles since the day of purchase. That's the reason why I believe my secretary discounted. She agreed on it at the point that she came for the refund. I could have repaired her car at the time. She chose not to. It took longer than usual because I needed a title. Without a title, we don't have anything. That's the only reason it took a little longer for me to refund her funds, because without a title, I can't give them back their cash. That was all. But she got paid out.
Okay, are there any questions regarding this?
Oh, not this particular incident, no.
Okay. I'll take your question, though.
Well, I have several, so I guess I'll wait till you finish.
Okay? All right. All right, I'm going to read another one.
Sure.
My fiancée and I purchased this is regarding a 2008 Ford Expedition.
Yep.
Which, again, I have to go through and get the first name. Thank you. And then I'll have one more after that.
Go ahead and read it, I'm sure it'll ring a bell tomorrow morning.
This is second of three. My fiancée and I purchased a 2008 Ford Expedition on 7/30/21 from 100% Auto Wholesalers. My fiancé asked the owner if there was anything wrong with the vehicle, and he said nothing. This is my showcase vehicle. He was originally selling the vehicle for $5,999, but since we didn't have cash, he said it would cost $8,500 with a 90-day warranty. We put $1,500 down, but he called his bank to get us a loan for the remaining $7,000. Before we got an inspection sticker, my fiancé took it to Midas, where we found out this vehicle had a list of problems and were told that it's not worth fixing, that the cost of repairs will be more than the vehicle is worth. The owner refused to repair the vehicle or refund our money, and when we picked up the vehicle, the oil change light came on, and the car was on empty and the windshield wipers were broken. Keeping this vehicle will cause me to file bankruptcy. I cannot afford the payments. Well, that is his problem, I'm sure. And the repairs this vehicle needs. Would you respond to that, please?
So the vehicle was a finance vehicle. It was never $59.99. The vehicle was always it was always the price that was intended to at the $8,500. They purchased the vehicle through finance. They did their own inspection. I did not do their inspection. They did their own inspection. Drove the vehicle after, I believe, a month and a half after, they went to re-inspect their car, just so a local mechanic said it needs A to Z. They had a 3 months warranty that was covered in engine transmission, but other things might have not been covered, but they already drove it over a certain amount of mileage, so we don't cover that. The warranty company does cover that. I do have here a Carfax that they're still driving the vehicle to this day, and they went from 15437 to 170848. So the vehicle's still on the road.
Are there any questions by the committee?
No.
Okay. And this is going to be my last of three. This is March 8th, 2021. At approximately 4:30 PM, I bought a car. I should let us find it first.
It's written in all caps if you're looking for it, Mr.
Yeah,
Martinez.
2003 Camry.
Okay.
That's all right, go ahead.
Okay. Do you know which one we're
Yes.
talking about? All right. I paid cash in full for the car, $4,950 from 100% Auto Wholesalers on 21 Washington Street, Attleboro. I got home and realized the title was not in the packet with a bill of sale. By now, the place was closing, so first thing in the morning, on March 9th, my husband brought the car back and asked them for the title. They told my husband that they didn't have possession of the title, so my husband asked for a refund since they could not produce a title. They told him to wait and gave him expired dealership plates and told him that he could still drive the car on the dealer's plates. I have plenty of messages going back and forth with this lady about the dealer's plate saying D20, which is expired. So we are now in possession of a car that I paid in full for, and I cannot and have not driven since driving it home and parking it, nor have they given me a title and they refused a refund. My husband and I have been using the lift to get back and forth this particular week.
So pertaining to the title,
Yeah.
we have a system on our software, no titles in the office. As soon as somebody purchases their vehicle, we press enter, it gets shipped out FedEx straight to the house. So we will never lose the title. Now, when the FedEx, they didn't understand that, so they were working, they never got the FedEx packet at home. When she came back, it was at the FedEx building. We gave them a dealer plate so they could drive it until they get their title, just to be out of courtesy. They got their title, they got their car registered, they passed inspection. That was a concern.
What we didn't have was what happened after
Right.
this. Okay. I'm going to move on to the rest of the committee. Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, Ty. So I'd ask for a little bit of leeway, because I have several questions along a couple of different lines, so if you would indulge me.
Let's see.
All right, Mr. Martinez, welcome back. So just context here, this is in regard to your application for the renewal of your license.
Yes, ma'am.
In regard to your application that you filed with the city clerk, the name of your company is 100% Auto Wholesaler LP. Who are your partners?
I had a partner. He's not a partner anymore.
But you're still practicing as a limited partnership with no
Attorney
partner?
says I'm fine at this moment, just like that. He haven't never changed it because I'm my own partner by myself, so I don't have to change it, they said.
You don't need a partner in a partnership?
No, they said I could be my own partner. That's what they said.
Who
My
told you
attorney,
this?
my accountant. He said I don't have to
Your
change
accountant?
it. Yeah, he said.
When's the last time you had a partner in your limited partnership?
2021. End of 2021.
Yeah, I happen to be looking at your paperwork on the Secretary of State's office, and it looks like it was earlier than that. Mr.
Angelo Pena.
Yes, Angelo Pena was a general partner early on, and then his name doesn't appear
Yeah,
anymore.
it had to be 21.
Yeah. So right now, you're solo?
Correct.
No one else operates the business, has any ownership rights in the business, or any other legal authority in the business? Okay. Secondly, so I'm not going to do a back and forth with you on the complaints because I sense that you would have an explanation for all of them. And I don't want to engage in that tit for tat. I don't have the ability or the expertise to evaluate, your answers, in particular in the absence of the consumers who filed the complaints. And although your application is in the context of your renewal for 2023, a license to operate a business is a privilege and not a right.
Absolutely.
So in my opinion, I can take into context or consideration not only your activities in the last year, 2022, but in every year that you've operated, right? And you started.
Say again?
So I'm going to consider things outside of the scope of FY22 and years prior. You started operations in 2018?
No, it was like 14 was the first one I did.
2014, okay. So I did a little background. And on the Attorney General's website, they have a spreadsheet, as you may know, about all the complaints filed by different people against different kind of entities. So Attleboro has, I think, 32 or I forget how many, but I narrowed the spreadsheet down to auto dealers. You had 52 complaints on the Attorney General's website from 2018 to 2021. Did you know that? 52. The next highest amount was 14 received by Courtesy Kia and 9 by Greenlight Auto Sales. I'm not going to go back and forth with you on all those 52, but you have 52.
Okay.
There's not any for 2022, at least on this spreadsheet, although some of the ones that Ty was referring to are more recent. So then I did a search for you on the Better Business Bureau. And you know how many you have there? Because you responded to a couple.
My secretary's one, probably like, I'm gonna say 10 or less.
No, actually, I didn't find 10, I found 4. For this year, that's FY22. And then including the 2 that we have on the record, that's 6. So I think, Mr. Martinez, in my opinion, what we've established here from 2018 to today is a pattern and practice of complaints with your consumers. And now, while some of them you will argue will be unfair or this or that, there's way too many. It's way far outside the norm, sir. And the license, it being a privilege and not a right. Do you know why we grant licenses? Why we have to scrutinize them? In order to protect the public. So it is our job to decide whether someone should get a license to operate and decide whether they're the proper person to serve the public, to protect the public for whom we serve. And I'm going to be straight with you right now and say that based upon what I see, I will not be voting for the renewal of your license. This is not something I don't, I'm sure you could explain every one of these away, but there's just too many for me in good conscience, Mr. Onassis, to oversee. So I just want to let you know where I stand and be straight up with you.
I appreciate your honesty.
Okay. Thank you, Ty. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor Dolan, do you have anything you want to share?
I don't.
Don't.
I had all the same information that Councilor DeSimone. I went on the Better Business Bureau and I thought I saw 6 in a couple that you had responded to. But I basically had all the same information, so she kind of covered everything. So I'm good for now.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
The most I can say to the council itself, I have no words for the 52 that Mrs. Simone said. I understand that we're here as grant me the license. I'm very sorry for the past. I know at the point in time I did have a partner and things wasn't running right. As you see now it is forming to the right area. I believe in 3 strikes. Hopefully, this is my livelihood. I really got nothing more to say than that, but hopefully I could get my license.
Are there any
If
other?
I may. Yeah. Mr. Martinez, please know, I don't take what you say lightly, because I do know that this is your business, and I fully appreciate that. But there's just too many. There's too many. But I fully appreciate the ramifications of this decision. But again, the right that is a Class 2 license,
You definitely are right.
we have to protect the public, sir, and I don't think I'd be doing my job at this point in light of the information I have. But I fully appreciate what you're saying.
Is there any way that the council does anything like a overview, if something happens, you know, like some way to say, okay, let's figure out a plan. Because, you know, I love Attleboro. I understand that when I first started, especially back when 2014, I was selling what I had for customers. Today, I changed the whole avenue, the whole business to customers always first. If they have a problem, we gotta take care of it. Now I have my own shop that I could take care of it. Not only what I had before. Now this is just coming up now, and I'm at the mercy of you, at the council at this point. And I understand with the complaints, but going forward, I don't have that. I don't have that. And before, even if before it ever gets to Attorney General's or to get to any of you, I fix it down then. You don't like the car? Just came back. I'll give you back your money. But the whole thing about the number one thing is the title issue. If they don't give me a title, I can't give nobody a car back. I can't give the funds back. That's all it is. In 52, if we could go through them all, and I'm guaranteeing you, every single one, if there wasn't their money back, the car got repaired. But it's still a complaint. But again, I'm the mercy of the council. And tonight, I guess I gotta pray.
Are there any other questions from anybody else in the council? Okay, I don't see any.
And just one more for the record.
Okay, go ahead.
You said Green Light had 9, Kia had 14. Simone, I'm probably selling 30, 25 cars a month. If you do the average, my volume is way bigger than them and way different in vehicle. My vehicle's around the 10, the vehicle's way over 20 or 30. And that's one of the reasons. If they're selling 2 or 3 a month, my volume's way bigger. But now that we're coming back, I'm making sure that those cars are 100%, making sure they're fine. And if the customer, no matter if it needs a handle, I'm gonna take care of it. If anything needs to be done, it's gonna be taken care of. So, that's all I can say.
I think we have completed this discussion this evening. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on.
We will go on with our regular business. The docket of November 15th, 2022, I would entertain a motion to approve the following 4 Class 1 license renewal applications. Class 1 license renewal application from CAMS Automotive Services, DBA Paris Auto Body, 21 Chartier Street, 9 customer parking spaces and 20 display spaces. We'll do this as a total vote here. Class 1 license renewal application from JT Automotive LLC, DBA Kia of Attleboro and/or Kia of South Attleboro, 795 Newport Ave with 46 customer parking spaces and 195 display spaces. Class 1 license renewal application from Priority Automotive LLC, DBA Chevrolet Buick GMC of Attleboro, 103 Washington Street, for 84 customer parking spaces and 288 display spaces. Class 1 license renewal application from National Van Builders, Inc., 70-84 Pine Street /7 Parker Street, for 8 customer parking spaces and 45 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second. I visited all 4, or did we just do 5? 4 places who wanted a Class 1 license. I did not see any problems or issues, and I spoke to the owners at all of them. Are there any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I am also an aye, so that passes for nothing. And go on to, from the docket of November 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the following 9 Class 2 license renewal applications. And I'll read it through and call for a second. Class 2 license renewal application from Just Trailers, Inc., 1863 County Street with 12 customer parking spaces, street for 10 customers. No issues.
How'd you,
And I told them I'll come back on this.
okay.
Yep, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And nothing spaces,
Second.
much I can say. I'd ask the committee if they would like me to poll you. Nothing with that, or would you like to do the vote as we've done previously?
For the full council to vote. Vote it out of
Yeah.
committee and let the,
I'll support it.
I share a lot of the sentiment raised by Councilor D. In front of your committee, I'm sure you can find out what's going on. We need to make sure that, I've got the same concerns that have been raised by everyone are not rectified. I think it raises concerns. But I think if he sat here and he said that he has rectified it, I want to know, when did he rectify it? Was it before he got these letters, before he was heard from the Attorney General? And as far as the 3 strikes you're out, I don't believe in that. This is not baseball. This is people's lives. People rely on their cars to get to work, to bring loved ones to medical appointment after complaint. And I think we need to continue to look at this, Ty. I think we have time. I think that we should find out.
Not all the complaints that were made, but 14 letters that were sent to me from the Attorney General's office. I know what those complaints are. I'm perfectly willing to sit down with him and go over them and find out what his response is to each of them, not just the 3 we had here. But I also have the contact information for those people, and I can follow up with them as to whether they truly feel that it was rectified.
Yes, so, as I said, I fully appreciate the nature of this decision and the impact it could have on this individual and his family, but I want to reiterate that a license is a privilege and not a right. We're here to establish, among other things, the proper person. The purpose of the law is to protect the public who buy used cars from these dealerships. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of determining whether or not he properly responded, adequately responded. If we're going to do that, then we need to get all the consumers in here who filed the complaints and hear their side of the story. Was it properly rectified? I don't think that's the nature and purpose of one. I suspect that Mr. Martinez will be able to have an explanation for each and every one of them, but that still wouldn't satisfy me because there's far too many, and I think where there's smoke, there is fire. So I'm a little bit leery of going down this trail and giving fair due, if you will, to the complainants. So if he says he filed, confirm with them that he in fact follow up to their satisfaction. I don't know where it ends, is my point. I'm good right now with the evidence I have before me that that he has exhausted the, what's what I'm looking for? I don't think he any longer deserves the privilege of having a license to sell used cars in the city of Attleboro. But I defer to you as the chair.
Councilor Conti.
So I think that it takes a lot for a person to write a letter to the Attorney General. I mean, I have been in situations with my own personal life with my automobile that I was wronged by a repair facility. And I chose not to write a letter to the Attorney General because I thought I could resolve it myself. This individual has received more complaints through the Attorney General's office than anybody. In fact, I think that of all the car dealerships in the city in the last year or the last 2 years, and maybe even the last 3 years. One guy. You can't unring a bell. Play some common sense into this. This guy has not been doing business right. 14 complaints to the Attorney General, and you're going to give him his license? That concludes my comments.
Councilor DeLisio.
Let me be crystal clear. At no point did I say, give him his license. What I said is it is our responsibility to do our due diligence. That's what I said. We have to make sure, because revoking someone's license or not renewing it is a big deal. I don't disagree. We have time. We have till the end of the year to do it. What's the rush without doing the due diligence? 14 letters to the Attorney General, it's a lot. I'm inclined to say no. But I think that The committee chair should have had more information in terms of feedback from the customers after as well. We talked about that, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But I think at the end of the day, we have to do our due diligence. We have to ensure that the decision we make is founded with the right steps taken. That's what I'm saying. My inclination is still no. By no means am I saying we're giving this guy his license. He hasn't demonstrated to me that he should keep that license, but before I'm 100% there, we need to make sure that it's the right move.
So I have talked to 3 of the people who wrote letters. And I can assure you, those 3 people did not feel it was rectified at all. But I have not talked to all 14. And Councilor Dolan, you were going to ask something.
So, I think they should have been invited to the public hearing. And I think maybe we could have some middle ground between what Councilor DeSimone and President Delicio saying. Maybe we could do some spot checking. Because like you said, you spoke to 3 of them.
Correct.
And like, I could be wrong, I don't remember you stating that in other committee meetings. I think it would have been beneficial for them to come to the public hearing. So maybe we could spot check some. You could give them a couple of them a call, see if they're satisfied, what the time frame was, what exactly transpired and when. And then we can, I mean, I don't think anybody here is running to renew this license, but, so maybe there could be some middle ground. But this has been dragging on for, quite a long time, and it just would have been helpful if people were at the public hearing.
But Ty, I just want to state for the record that the public hearing, Councilor Dolan, pertained to the revocation issue. What we have before us now is a renewal issue. There hasn't been a public hearing. This is the first time we've talked about the application for renewal. I just want to be clear of the context here, because we have not had a public hearing on a renewal. You mentioned public hearing, right? So you meant the prior proceeding that is not in front of us on revocation, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to be clear, because this is not that.
Still would have been beneficial to have the information at that time, because clearly it dragged on past the revocation point, and now we're at the renewal point.
This is renewal.
So, we still would have had the information to make our decision on the renewal. So,
We still
again,
can, if the chair and the president want to get it, that's still possible if it's in committee. I'm good without it personally, but just for the record, this is our license to renew.
Well, I do agree
Application renewal.
with President Delicio. We should do our due diligence. Got to get that word out. That, I want this to be completely looked at. I'm not quite ready to go where you're ready to go, Councilor DeSimone. I have my issues with this too, but I would like to bring in at least 3 of the people who have written to us, who have complained, and I'm asking if we could set up a time for that to happen.
You can do that at your next committee meeting.
Okay? That would be on the 22nd. And I know one person that said she would come whenever. So I'm willing to go up to 3. I don't think we need all 14. Do I have committee support in that?
Sure. Although I don't think it would be beneficial to sit down with Mr. Martinez again and go through all these again.
No, I'm not suggesting that.
Well, you said it earlier, that you would sit down with him. So I'm just saying, I don't think it would be beneficial to anybody to do that.
No, I think what would happen is what Councilor DeSimone is saying. I'll get an answer, and then I have to check out the answer, and we could go back and forth for a long time.
All right,
So I will invite up to 3 people to come before the committee next time.
So are we gonna hold this then?
I
So you
would,
want me to withdraw?
I would suggest we hold it.
I'll withdraw my second to the motion.
Thank you. And we will meet again. I would like to call it, if we may, at 6 o'clock
You're
on
the
the
chair.
22nd.
You're the chair.
Okay, I'm just checking. All right,
Well,
thank you.
we should check with Virginia, just to make sure.
Oh, I will, because I don't know what else is scheduled that night. All right, I'm going to go on. Thank you. From the docket of November 15th, 2022, well, these aren't approvals, but I'll read it through. We received a letter from Dominic Lanzillo, Norfolk, Mass., informing the council that Mike's Automotive of 801 South Main Street doesn't have an auto repair shop license held with the Division of Standards. And from the docket of September 6, 2022, we received correspondence from Mobile McCool of Emery Convenience Store asking to petition the general court to authorize the granting of one additional wine and malt package store license, as there are no licenses currently available. I would like to make a comment on that. We have already reached our maximum number of licenses that we can have in the city. I'm going to make a motion on the 22nd to strike that. Please.
So you're not going to entertain conversation as to whether or not to file a petition or special act for this person? Did we not?
If the
have
committee
we
would
not-
like that, you can, but that would expand the list.
Are we going to have the conversation?
Pardon?
Are we going to have the conversation at some point as to whether that's something we want to pursue?
Go ahead. Would you like to have the conversation right now?
You have other committees that are waiting.
Do we, well, we have 4 minutes left. Councilor Blair,
I make a quick comment.
please.
We have a list over the years of people wanted a package store license, and there was none available. I would imagine there's still a list there.
There is.
Okay. If you're gonna expand the number of licenses, that gentleman's gotta be way down the list. And, the mom and pop liquor stores are few and far between now. They've been bought out by larger ones. I don't know if you wanna go through the trouble of petitioning for somebody that won't get a license. He won't get the license anyway. If we increased it by 2 or 3, there's a list upstairs that's been waiting probably years. Probably years for a license. That's why those licenses sell for thousands and thousands of dollars. So, I tried to explain that to you, Ty, that,
Yeah, no, and I understood what you said.
you know, there's a waiting list for those. And those people that have been waiting all that time, they deserve a shot. If we look to the state to expand our base of licenses.
Councilor Angela.
I just wanted to just clarify one thing, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but when Dave Wood was up speaking, he did talk about that long list that you're talking about, and I did ask a question that, were there others that were appealing to us, to the state? And Nabil was Nabil was the only one, from what I understand, that was actually appealing to the state. He was the only one, none of the, from the 14. There was nobody there that was appealing to that. They were just waiting for the city to expand. But Nabil was the one that was appealing to the state. I thought that was the question.
Councilor Conti and then DeSimone. Councilor Conti.
No, Councilor Dolan was there to me.
Oh, I didn't, I thought you would raise your hand. Councilor-
That was my understanding, that we would doing it specifically for this person because they're the ones that wanted us to do it. We're not expanding, we're not creating new licenses that are up for grabs. We're petitioning the state on his behalf because that's what he asked us to do. And then the other people on the list have not done that. So we're not expanding, we're not just getting 2 random licenses that we can give out that would just go to the next person on the list. This is specifically for him, for us to petition the state for an extra license for this location. That's my understanding.
That's correct.
Councilor DeSimone and then
Right.
Councilor Blair.
And I appreciate Council Blair's point about the value of these licenses, which is a whole nother discussion. But this is not, as Council Dolan said, this, from what I understand, if we do this, it is site-specific. It is for that location. It doesn't travel at all. So there is no selling it because it's tied to that location. It's not portable in any way. And as far as I know, and he's the only person who has asked for this relief. and we had this conversation, I thought we were gonna pursue it with the solicitor, but, he's not asking for anything that is inappropriate. Other municipalities have done this. I appreciate the sense of fairness. I'm just curious how many people on that list are asking for a license to go anywhere versus how many people on that list are asking for a site-specific license. Does that make sense? So you can get a license and then open a liquor store anywhere, or you can get a license like this one for just that particular location. And I'm not sure how many people on the list have requested which one. I thought we left the conversation after Mr. Wood was here looking for more information from, I suggested the solicitor, but I feel like we need a better understanding of the situation before we vote on it, at least.
Councilor Blair.
I think you ought to go to the licensing board and see how they regulate it. I mean, there's a certain number of licenses available in Attleboro. I'm not any different than neither one of you sitting here that would buy a building and then ask to petition the state to have a liquor license. That's up to that board upstairs.
So let me leave it like this, because we're at 7:01. We have to conclude soon. I will contact Dave Wood. I will ask if I can attend a meeting and discuss this issue with them. I hear all sides here, and I agree with pieces of that. I do think you're jumping ahead of 20 or so other places, but if none of them are asking for what this gentleman is asking for, then that clarifies the situation.
They might not have known they had that avenue.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or do they have that avenue?
I agree with you.
How,
They don't necessarily know.
or do they even have it?
Counselor,
Yes.
I've had my hand up for a while. I think
sorry, I didn't see it.
I think you have a lot of work to do before you bring it out to the committee. You need to know the details of the specific license, specific location license. You need to know the details of how many people have been on that list waiting. You need to know how long those people have been waiting. You need to talk to the city solicitor to find out whether or not those people can gather and file a civil suit against the city should you give a site specific to a new store owner. So I think if you get all that work done first, then you can have a conversation with the committee. That's my opinion. But when it comes on the floor, I'll be voting against it, site-specific or not, because there's been people waiting for 25 years for a liquor license in the city of Attleboro. And this guy coming out of the blue, just because he's making a lot of noise, doesn't get ahead of the pack. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. With that, I think we need to close. I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:03.
All right, so I guess it's me. I'd like to call ordinances, elections, and legislative matters committee to order at 7:03. With me this evening is Councilor Holmes. Good evening, Councilor Holmes. Councilor Holmes, the city planner is here, so I'd like to just jump to the proposed marijuana amendments and have Gary come up. And I asked Gary to come not to present necessarily, but to answer any questions that the committee may have or the council, other councils may have about the ordinances and issues involved therein. Is that fair to say, Gary? You here to answer questions? So, if anybody has any questions for our city planner about the proposed ordinances or anything related thereto, he's here.
Good evening, everybody.
So this is, yes, the business pertaining to expanding the zones of operation to general business and planned highway business and other proposed changes therein. Some of the things we've discussed have involved the distance between marijuana retailers and residences, expanding hours, the procedure if someone wants to open an existing business wants to open a new shop. Councilor Reynolds, did you have a question for?
Well, it's hard to ask a question because we don't know what the planning board has definitely agreed to yet. So we haven't gotten that paperwork. So my questions would always be the same, but we did you know, some of the things that we talked about is changing some of the wording. We had that about, and I think that we could do this without the planning board. I don't think we needed that. Hang on a second.
So, G2 there, about the may and shall?
The may and shall, yeah, so the special permit granting authority shall not grant a special permit for a marijuana retailer when 5 or more are actively being operated. So that was something that we spoke about, and that's something that,
So I did speak with the city solicitor about that, and the question I had was, well, it says may, which I always take as discretionary versus shall. So I spoke with her as late as this afternoon again, and she said in this case, the way it's written, it says that the permit granting authority of the zoning board may not issue. She said that's tantamount to shall not, Gary. There's no discretion in it in this case. She understood my perspective of may versus shall, but she said that may not, in this instance, the way it appears in the zoning ordinance, is tantamount to shall not.
okay.
So we could shut that down right there. So
Okay.
shall is interchangeable with may.
May not.
Yes.
Okay, and what about the marijuana retailer when 5 or if 5? What's the difference between if and when? That's on the same G2?
I didn't speak with her about that, but I can,
That was the second, can I have?
I think that's pretty clear. To be quite honest with you, Councilor Reynolds, I don't remember having a,
Yeah, we had a conversation.
yeah, no, I'm sure we did.
Yep.
I'm just saying, I don't know if I had an issue with when or if, so that language is very clear to me.
You do, because we had talked about may should turn to shall,
Right.
and if should turn to when 5. I don't, that if wasn't the proper word there, it should have been when.
I'm okay with if, and like I said earlier, I think may and shall are interchangeable in this case,
So that in between, no, if this happens,
if what happens.
well, this was the grant of special permit when, or 5, so that once 5 is reached, that the 5, once this was in there, that would stop. People could come in and apply, but they wouldn't be able to get a license after.
No, actually, once we hit 5, so categorically, I will tell the council, because may and shall are synonymous. Once we hit the 5th retail marijuana opening.
Open,
And operational,
Yeah.
not the special permit being
Yeah.
granted, actually operational and running up and running business. The city will not process any more of those applications
Okay.
unless we dip down below 5 again. I mean, a business doesn't necessarily have to stay in business all the time. So if that operational number goes below 5 because a business just went out of business for whatever reason, then we would process applications again until a 5th one is operational.
okay, so it doesn't matter when or if, because we did have, you and I did have this
Yeah.
discussion, and you're saying now that you're all right
I'm
with
comfortable
me?
with when, I'm comfortable with
after
this
speaking.
if.
And with the if.
I'm
All right.
comfortable with the if, and again, categorically, as a result of my last conversation with the city solicitor as of around 3:30 this afternoon,
Yeah.
I just want to make it very current that she made it explicitly clear that may not is synonymous with shall not in context of this ordinance.
Okay, and that if is not a problem either?
Correct.
It's not about when or if, it's just 5 is 5, 5
5
is
is
5.
5.
Okay.
5 is 5.
Okay, all right, so I'm good with that.
Okay.
And may I?
Yeah, just very quickly, just to recap, so Gary, the current version of section G2 is sufficient. There's no need to change that language as it stands right now?
I don't see any reason to change that.
Just wanted to
Okay.
be clear. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then again, not knowing what the final decision was with the planning board, the increase in hours, is that something that we're looking might be a possibility, open till 11?
Was that in the proposal?
No, it came up in
It came
discussions in
up and-
committee.
So the only thing the planning board contemplated last night was the precise language I think Councilor Cobus presented as part of the public hearing. We did not consider anything else other than the language as presented at the end of the public hearing. So the planning board did not contemplate any modifications to the operation of the hours.
So it's still only 5?
Whatever the,
That I'm
whatever
looking
in
at,
the
I'm looking
ordinance
for.
as is right now.
Yep. So the things that we're talking about, I don't think we had setbacks and buffer zones in there.
Correct. That
We
that was
didn't.
not,
That's
that was
our-
not,
That's our
that was
only
not in the,
determination.
Yep,
That's in
that's in
committee.
our-
Okay,
That's
then
right.
I have no further questions, yeah.
So while I'm sorry, Council Bear.
I don't know, actually, if you're putting a cart before the horse or what, but I sat at this semicircle when we put down the rules and regulations that it had to be an industrial zone. So I don't even know why we're approaching it. I don't know other than Richard, myself, and maybe Jay, were even on the council then. But were you on when we voted into the industrial zone?
Yeah,
I wrote this.
yeah, Todd wrote it.
I know,
I think
The
he means,
original one.
I think he means the original
Yeah.
ordinance.
the original ordinance
Okay.
that said it in the industrial zone. Now we're talking about putting it somewhere else. We hashed this over for weeks, months, and I mean hashed it over, this council did. And to say that it wouldn't cause we haven't had any problems, I think that goes to merit to what this council did back then. We set them where they belonged, and we haven't had any problems. We had a gentleman stand at that podium said that the police chief changed his mind and said that he didn't think it was necessary anymore. Well, that's a bald-faced lie.
Council Bear, do you have a question for Gary? Because I don't want to keep him here if we're going to discuss without a question for him. I'm open to hear what you're saying, but do you have anything for Gary? Because I don't want to keep him any longer than necessary.
I don't feel like we should sit and rehash this and try to fix something that isn't broke, Catherine.
I appreciate that, Pete. I want to respect Gary's time, because I do have one thing I want to speak, and then we can I just put you on pause for a second?
Go ahead.
Okay,
It's
thank
hard
you.
to put me on
I know,
pause.
I know it is. I want to say this to Gary and Council Holmes, did you have a question for Gary?
We did, but do you want, you can go ahead though.
Yeah,
No.
give me 1 second,
Yes.
if I may. So Gary, you and I have discussed concerns on the council, and it was in the proposed language to G2 about possibly granting some kind of preference or priority to existing businesses who wanted to open retail shops in the new zones, assuming those new zones are passed. And I know I floated some potential language by you and the solicitor, and as you know, the solicitor has not given an opinion on that language yet, and did recommend that I send it up to the CCC as well. But it's my understanding, and I think you said the same thing. Basically, although, and I want to be clear, the solicitor has not weighed in on the issue completely. But I spoke to her briefly today, and her initial thoughts, and Gary's were too, to his credit, was even if such a preference/priority is possible, is it a good idea? Because it could be problematic. And as you know, right, I mean, even if it's legal, doesn't mean people aren't going to challenge it. So just a heads up, that's kind of where we are. And one possible solution is to consider increasing the cap. And I don't know what the appetite is for that, and I sense my brother on the right is not going to like that, but that would be less problematic than this preference/priority thing, okay? So I'm not proposing we go there right now, I'm just throwing it out there, this is where we are at the moment, and we can talk about that.
Do you want to say something?
I
Go ahead, yeah.
I want to reply. So is that something that was, that the planning board looked at?
No.
So this is
No.
nothing
I
that can
went
happen?
through the
So this
planner.
is something we can talk about in the committee?
Yes, it is, and just for the
Yeah,
record,
okay.
I discussed it with the planner, and Gary said, run
Yeah.
it by the solicitor, and I did, and I
Yeah.
spoke to the solicitor, and she said, I'm still thinking about it. My initial reaction is, you might be able to do it, but do you really want to? And by the way, you should send it to the CCC.
Yeah.
And, and by the way, the easier solution might be increasing the cap and avoiding this issue altogether. And I believe, Gary, that was
Yeah,
your sentiment?
Kathleen, Council Kathleen DeSimone and I spoke about that several times at length. And my final analysis is, even if it happens to be legal, which I don't think it was, but let's say it is legal, I don't think it's a good idea to do that.
I understand that. So I have a follow-up with Gary. So my thing is though, Gary, if this all goes along and we change the locations, we allow for it in the commercial zones and whatnot, retail areas, if somebody that's already in business, of the three, decides to move, start to make their movement, so they come in, they apply.
Apply for
they-
what? Special permit?
Yeah, they apply for a special permit or whatever. Is it similar to, just like, well, recently, Nova was applying for another area, and it all went haywire, and they didn't get it, but it wasn't considered their second. It was just they were applying for something.
Yeah, the zoning board
So-
doesn't care who the applicant is.
That's right, so
Yeah.
I'm saying, they come in, they get it, but until it's operational, it's really not open, correct?
Right.
So they can keep a business could keep them open, the three that are open could stay open until they're operational. And then at the time that they're operational, they have to shut one down.
By the state.
By the state,
The state
but not
has
by
to
the
limit
city,
it to
but
three.
by the state. But it's,
I'm here to represent the city.
I know, but what I guess I'm asking is it's not considered, well, the state doesn't consider it operational till it's open. That would be their second one, but they could only keep one. But that's what I'm saying. They could open one, they get approved here, it becomes operational, and then they just move, and they have one, correct?
If they want to, so you can have two, you can have three under the
Yeah,
zoning
here.
board. Right.
Yeah, under the zoning
So
board,
you can
yeah.
do plenty of things. You can open one, change your mind, want to close one, open another one, as long as you get a special permit.
Yeah.
You can get a special permit, maintain that open a second one. Nothing says that you have to close one to open a second one. At least our ordinance doesn't talk to that. Get as many, again, it's open for business.
Mm-hmm.
So once you satisfy the optics for the special permit, we don't regulate who gets what. If the CCC says, for example, and I'm not here in any way representing the Cannabis
Yeah.
Commission, if they're only allowing one license, then that's different. The zoning board could still issue the special permit. If they can't get the license from the CCC, so be it. It's much like if we granted a permit for a project that required a federal NEPA application.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't obtain that, doesn't stop our local regulatory
From
boards
getting
to
it.
go through the process. They get their permits locally. If they need something else from another entity, whether it's a regional permit, a state permit, a federal permit, that's on them. If they don't get it, then they can't open.
Yeah, but they still have they still have the special permit. For how long?
Sure, good question. For 18 months.
Okay,
It's good for 18 months. They can come back and ask for an extension, which
Yeah.
the board may.
Yeah.
And then if there is no exercise of the rights authorized by that special permit within that period of time, then it lapses.
okay, thank you.
Good, Councilor Reynolds?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight. I have
Sure,
a very
of course.
specific question, which I don't know if you're going to know the answer to. Do you know how many special permits have been issued even if they haven't opened? Like how many are active right now, but they haven't opened?
Yes, so 3 are active. A 4th has been issued for O'Neill Boulevard. So there are 4 altogether, 3 that are operational, a 4th that's been issued.
Okay, and then after.
And that's just for retailer. That does not include cultivation and manufacturing. The board has granted those as well. But there's no limitation or cap on that.
Okay, and then in terms of, I guess, what would be the process after 5 open? A waiting list, or is there a process? There's nothing that we really have, there's no formal process in place?
So if the question is, once 5 are operational, what we would do is not process any more special permit applications for a marijuana retailer.
It would just kind of halt until somebody figured out that one was not operational, then they could,
If one closes,
yes,
then you're open for business again.
okay. And then,
And I shouldn't talk like that. I shouldn't say we're open for business again. That sounds a little pedestrian. What I should have said is, we would process the special permit applications at that time.
okay, and then this may be for the chair, it would be nice to know about that preference, if any other towns or cities have dealt with
Yeah.
that, I don't know.
Some have in the context of what they call, what is it, Gary, economic empowerment applicants in different contexts. So there are certain populations by which some municipalities have decided to give priority to their applications to, in low-income areas and in populations particularly negatively impacted.
Economic strata, demographics, so.
So that's been done. But what I proposed in the language, and again, I'm not submitting it because I don't even know if it's feasible, so I didn't want to muddy the waters anymore, is some kind of priority to existing businesses if this change occurs. That's what we're waiting to hear. But yes, Diana, Council Holmes, they have given priority to particular applicants who are determined by the state. That's a decision that the CCC makes, I think, in terms of whether or not it's an economic empowerment applicant. It's not our decision to make.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Council Holmes?
I have two questions and a comment to what Councilor Reynolds was saying about being able to transfer the next to last paragraph, the amendment to 17-10.15, does talk about it talks about the limit of 5 retail locations. It says this limitation only applies to the marijuana retailer use. This provision shall not limit marijuana retailers who are actively being operated from choosing to transfer their license to a new location within the city, provided the special permit for the new location shall include a condition that the previous special permit shall be null and void and no additional location shall be created. So, Gary, please correct me if I'm wrong. The intent there was that if there are 5 open, in one of them is located in an industrial area, they would still be allowed to move to a general business area if they choose, provided
They obtain a special permit.
they obtain the special permit, but it wouldn't. But the special permit would be processed in that case with the condition that when they open the new one, the old permit goes away.
No.
Well, that was the
here.
intent with the language.
Yeah, well, no, because if 5 are operational, okay, 5 are operational, you can't, the board would not, under the way it's written right now, the zoning board would not be able to grant, in that example, with that special condition, because they can't tell you to go out of business.
So say I'm a marijuana retailer on Frank Mossberg Drive, and I'm operating a retail location there. And there are 4 other operational retail locations.
Right,
If-
there's 5 altogether now, right?
There's 5 altogether. If I want to move my location from the industrial area to a general business zone, the intent when I wrote this was that you can file for a new special permit request to move to the new location. And at that point, the limit of 5 wouldn't apply to that, because there would be a condition that for this new special permit wouldn't be granted until we wouldn't open the new location until the old location closed.
I understand the logic. The only flaw with that I see, and we could talk about that some more, Council Cobus, is this, but in order to apply for the permit, the slot has to be open. Because in that presumption, it's that the zoning board is then going to be put under the gun to think, okay, the only way we could, the outcome has to be an approval for that to be closed. So we're actually then processing an application fully knowing that the 5 are already operational. Because how could it then process it? Because we can't take in the application. So the only way that would work is there's some other language, in which I'm not prepared to speak off the top of my head right now, because it's almost like the chicken and the egg. You can't, because then the outcome has to be granted, and then as a condition of approval to deny, to revoke the other one.
Okay.
If you revoke it, you have to have basis for a revocation too. It isn't because of some mechanical device in the zoning ordinance. So I hear what you're saying. I suppose there's some language we could come up with, but it's very tricky. We'd have to understand, we'd have to really roll up our sleeves on something like that, because, again, please remember, the default is 5 are operational, so how would one process the application? We wouldn't be able to. That's the first test to overcome.
So my suggestion for Councilor DeSimone would be that, so it sounds like the language proposed doesn't meet the intent. Right, so I suggest we try to resolve that before voting this out. My other 2 questions, sorry. When we talked about the 5th one, a retail location being operational, my understanding is that special permits can still be granted if, say there's 4 right now there's 3 operational, and there's a 4th one, special permit that's been granted. My understanding is 2-3 more additional special permits could be granted before
Absolutely.
we have 5 that are operational.
Absolutely.
And so in theory, we could end up with 6 operational retail
Yes.
locations, depending on how quickly
Yes.
those special
But
permits
that's a
were
different
granted.
sixth coming about as opposed to the intent of that other language, right?
Correct.
That's a
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
separate
yep.
animal, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so my understanding
Until
there
that
is
fifth
correct.
one is operational, we will continue to process application, and let's say for the sake of discussion, the zoning board of appeals processes 5 more. The fifth one becomes operational, there are 10 special permits now. If they all open and exercise that special permit before it lapses, they can all open. We could have 10, is an answer.
And that was the intent of the original recreational ordinance written. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear on how that worked. And then finally, my third question, there was a lot of discussion about setbacks and whatnot, whether there should be setbacks between different marijuana retailers, or if we should change, now that we're moving to general business, if we should change the setbacks. Right now, it's 100 feet from residential use, 500 feet from existing public and private schools. Those different setbacks that we worked through a long time ago when we were talking about industrial. Do you or does the planning board have any suggestions, or with this moving to general business, was this also reviewed as part of that to think it?
And again,
okay.
Council, the reason not is because that was not what was presented at the public hearing and closed. So nothing was asked of the planning board, so they certainly did not contemplate any grading setbacks.
Well, but as we're moving into the general business areas, I would assume that we would sort of rethink about the setbacks that exist that would now be applied to that.
Maybe if we could introduce that as new business, we could. Because the public hearing is closed, so the planning board is making its recommendation to the council based on the ordinance, the proposed ordinance presented at night of the public hearing. I don't think setbacks were discussed in terms of an amendment.
Setbacks weren't discussed, but if we're expanding into general business, and the ordinance that was reviewed was saying, okay, well, we're moving into general business, all of these existing setbacks then apply to that change. So my only question was there any
No, the answer is
concerns
no.
there? Okay.
The answer is no.
Okay, that was my last question. Thank you.
Gary, I have a question.
I apologize for being a little more complicated, but, okay, peace.
So just following up on Councilor Cobus's question and appreciating his point, I'm asking myself whether all these contortions are worth it instead of just increasing the cap. Wouldn't that solve some of these problems?
No, I think the question of a greater setback or a lesser
No,
setback?
no, not the setback, the question about the licenses and opening a
Oh,
different.
we're back to that again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the setbacks, I agree with Council Cobus that I think it's fair to ask that question in the context, because you're expanding into new areas. But in terms of the cap limit and who files when, and we could have more than 5, can we just make this clear and expand the cap and not have to play? I just feel like this is a little bit unnecessarily complicated.
So if we were to expand it to 10 for the sake of discussion, the example that Councilor Cobus gave, where, because now you're on a tight line, you're very restricted with 5.
Right.
It's a very small number relative to what we're doing. You just doubled it by 100% to 10. It gives a lot more latitude to that company that's in the I zone, or ultimately in the IBP. We don't have any in the IBP right now, but in the I zone, that much more latitude to be able to open a facility in the PHB or the GB zone without worrying about retroactively rescinding votes and transferring and so forth and so on. So, yeah, that would certainly help.
Okay, all right.
Because there are some companies that obtained a special permit and their permits lapsed, so they're even off the radar screen.
Yeah.
That would have complicated matters even more, because that would even put more of a crunch.
Yeah.
Because they could still be on the table, conceivably vying for that 5th slot. By opening it up to 10, to answer your question, would provide a great deal more latitude and flexibility in that market, in that industry, at least for retailers.
Seems to me. Councilor Reynolds?
So I guess I'm saying, but why would we do that, since we've had this 5 available, and only 3 have actually become operational at this moment in time? There's some waiting and thinking it might happen, but we don't know if it's going to happen. So we could leave it at 5, and another year from now, if it looks like we're starting to hit that mark, you can raise it then.
So
mean,
that's
there's
a
no-
debate for the council. I mean, I was just answering Council D.
Yeah,
Simone's
but that's what I'm
question, so-
saying. It's possible to do it when the timing is needed, and it's not necessarily.
Well, we can talk about it, but it's a new day, so I just think, I'm just concerned as we get overly convoluted in some of these things we're trying to do. Why don't we just take the easier route and lift the cap? I mean, we have to decide what we're trying to
That easier
do.
route would resolve the intent of what Council Cope.
That's all I'm saying.
It's all about whether people are making their money. That's what these businesses are, I mean, again, are you flooding the market? And is that really what's going to allow, I mean, this, again, we don't have to keep Gary here for that, but I mean, we're flooding the market, as far as I can see, for when already we have only been able to open 3 that were available to open financially. And then you add 10, for what reason? For, to just add, or see people go under because they don't have their proper financing.
But I think that actually talks to the argument, because if we've kept it at 5, all this time only 3 opened, and when you talk about flooding the market, it's really, the market is the market, right? We're not increasing the market is of the same size, so we're not flooding the market with anything more. We're affording some latitude, but if, whether it's 3 permits for 5 or 3 permits for 10, by increasing it to 10, I don't think we're going to get any more applications we're getting in.
I don't know. I don't think
You
we
know?
need to. That's my own, that's
Fair
my
enough.
point
That's a fair
there.
point. I just want to be very careful, because the more complicated we make it, the more we subject ourselves to potential issues. The more problematic it becomes, the more exposure increases.
I guess I don't see the complication in that we're not changing anything right now except some of the wording here, and also the fact that we're not really even changing the pushbacks or how far away from each other at this point. That's something that we're going to discuss later, because we didn't send that to.
Council, I think you are changing something significantly. The amount of real estate that you're going to open up.
Well, that's right. That's true. I do. That's a
very
definite.
significant from
That's-
just I and IBP.
I agree. I agree with that.
Including GB and PHB. With all due respect, I think that is a fairly
Well,
significant.
that's a mutual difference, so why would we jump to 10 when we have to, I think we should wait and stick with 5 and see how it all pans out. That's, again, that's my feeling. But with that said, those are the only things that we changed. Everything else is moving over almost exactly as is, because that didn't go to the planning board. So we're not changing setbacks or anything.
I respectfully may disagree with our planner. I'd like to keep hours and setbacks on the table. I don't think they're, I think they're reasonably connected to the business as proposed, particularly as it pertains to expanding into new zones. But
Council, this one, it wasn't my intent to not suggest
No,
you
I
don't
understand.
debate. I just meant
Oh, I know.
to answer the questions.
It didn't go to you.
The planning board didn't debate it because it wasn't part of the original
that's very fair,
language.
very
so,
fair.
okay.
And fairness may dictate we come back with a new bite at the apple, but I want to keep those issues on the table. Council Kovas, did you have something for?
I just wanted to mention that I very much agree with what you said about expanding to 10, and that was originally part of this discussion. And I do feel like it allows capitalism to set the market and, let the market be the market. But there was some pushback to that, and it wasn't clear. So I'm not convinced that introducing that as part of this wouldn't require a new public hearing, which maybe isn't the end of the world, or adding the hours to this might have an impact. But I'm open to that discussion, or just introducing it as new business down the road.
Understood, and please know, it's not something I was initially planning to advocate for. The only reason I'm proposing it is it seems like a simpler solution than
Agreed.
some of the things we've discussed. Council Holmes, did you have anything for Gary?
Yes, or just to kind of add to the discussion. So I agree that hours and setbacks, I think, can be discussed within this, and I'm comfortable with that. And I'm open to increasing from 5 to 10 as well. Now, I know I already asked the question. You said that there were 3 operational, there's 4 existing issued ones. Any that have expired?
Oh, yeah.
How many?
I think there were 2. There were at least 2 that come to mind. I provided a spreadsheet for Councilor D. Simone,
Okay, thank you.
and I was going to print it and bring it with me, but if it's there.
No, I had forwarded it.
Okay, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
that gives you a comprehensive analysis of all the permits. That even dates back when the municipal council was the SPGA. So that goes back to, I think, 2017, So that gives you a list of all the permits that have been issued, retail, manufacturing, cultivation, any combination of those three, by the permit granting authority, what's active, what is, where they have a permit but haven't used it yet or haven't triggered it yet, and those that have expired.
Okay, do you know why we decided to start with 5?
That was the initial policy. That was a policy
It was
from the...
based on a percentage of the number of alcohol licenses.
Okay, thank you.
Counsel, if it's okay, I could forward that to Virginia tomorrow, and she could email it to
I
everybody.
forwarded it to my
Yes.
colleagues.
Okay.
Council Holmes might have missed the memo,
Yeah,
but they should have it.
Thank you.
All right, I'll make a note to give that to Virginia tomorrow, okay?
Any other questions for Gary? Gary, I thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing the planning
Pleasure.
board's decision, and we won't be deciding anything here tonight. We agree? We'll get the decision and continue the conversation.
Very good.
Gary, thank you very much.
If you need me back again, I'll be happy to come back, so.
We might.
Okay.
Thank you,
Good
Gary.
night, everybody.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, so there's a lot to think about. We'll wait for the planning board, and we've got a lot to think about. Even just moving forward, do we introduce new business? Do we'll hold this back and introduce new business and have everything merge at some point? Or do we just pass the zones and decide? So we've got to even figure out the best way to proceed that's efficient and fair for all involved. But I'm just concerned about bending over backwards and putting ourselves in a complicated position to try to do something that could be easier done, more easily done. So food for thought, but I think we have several avenues to think about. Agree? So if you would all just maybe have in your own mind, work it out, we could talk about ways to move forward that makes sense. Knowing that some of us don't want to move forward at all. Council Baird, do you want to conclude your point before I move on?
I've been against marijuana since it started, right? We work real hard to make it safe for the citizens of Attleboro, and we put it where it's been put. And this council at that time spent an awful lot of time, and it's worked out very well, other than a couple traffic incidents in the industrial park. I think you're right in making it too complicated to start with. Let's see if we even want it in retail areas first, before you spend months arguing on this semicircle about how many feet it should be set back, where it should be. You could cause some real traffic problems putting this in certain locations. Go down to the industrial park on Friday night and see. And I honestly believe they want a retail place because money. When Rhode Island opens up, their customer base is going to drop. Got to drop. I don't think Attleboro should be the marijuana center of Massachusetts. And that's what it sounds like certain people want. I've been against it from start. I think it's a gateway drug. I don't think, other than revenue for this state, I don't see the purpose of it.
All set, sir?
I'm all set.
Well, the conversation will continue, so rest assured, we can continue the discussion. All right, so the other item I wanted to discuss this evening pertains to the designer selection procedures. And Council Reynolds and Council Conti at the last meeting, I made raised a couple of concerns, and I want to follow up on those. So I forwarded your concerns to the administration and to Jack Jacoby as the chair of the NBC, and I had put before you on your desks some proposed amendments, and I may speak, if I may, for Jack Jacoby as the chair of NBC. He had no particular concerns with the proposed changes. Basically, he said, he pointed out to me that there's 3 kinds of projects. He says there's the vertical, which is municipal buildings, which by our very ordinance that Council Reynolds and I proposed amendments to months ago in section 2-8.2 that pertains to the NBC, that the NBC has, by virtue of that ordinance, jurisdiction over the construction of new municipal buildings anyway. That power exists. Jack pointed out that there are other projects which are lateral, like pipes in the ground, et cetera, which is outside of the MBC's purview anyway. And then there are special projects such as the MSBA that require state funds and require certain parties to be privy to the designer selection process. So basically the MBC has and would continue to have jurisdiction over the construction or repairs or modifications of building, as in ordinance section 2, and in the language that the administration sent down, what you'll see is in section 3, the bold language there. Does everybody have the handout I'm talking about? So this was sent out by the administration with Jack's consent or agreement to add just that one provision in there for projects assigned to the Municipal Building Commission. The MBC shall be designated as the committee. And then just a couple of other minor changes. So I would suggest to Council Conti and Council Reynolds, I think that your concerns were fairly addressed. And I'd like to, and basically, this is kind of, Jack said this is what they're already doing. This is just a codification of the procedure they use. And knowing the work that he and that committee does, if he has no particular issue with it, particularly after this one change, I hope we're all good to move on. So I welcome your thoughts, and if you agree, I'll move to amend the proposed changes. Yes, Councilor Reynolds.
No, I'm good with it, as long as it came back from Jack that he was good with it, that he felt that the changes we had made kind of offset some of the stuff that I was concerned about, so I'm all right with it.
Councilor Conti?
Council, I need to refresh my memory of what I remember thinking that the mayor is getting an awful lot of power out of this ordinance.
You, I think, sir, were particularly concerned with section 20, one of the end ones, 20.
22?
Yes, sir,
comes to mind?
and I raised that. But that's when Jeremy responded and said, look, the NBC has already given its jurisdiction, and indeed, we empowered it to some degree with the amendments we made, that this provision would not in any way trump section 2, but that outlines the NBC's jurisdiction.
So why is it there?
It's part of the form that they sent on. I guess this is a template that he used.
So why can't we take it out?
Well, because this may have other applications besides just the NBC.
So why don't we know what that is?
Hang on, if you give me 1 second, I will call up the email, because I did specifically ask that question. 1 second. One second, bear with me. Okay, so. Hang on, Council Conti. There's a whole string of emails between me and Jeremy. Okay. Okay, so I said, good morning. I particularly pointed out paragraph 22. Paragraph 22 says we are not establishing any new board and we are not circumventing any law. It has nothing to do with the already established MBC. So I guess it's just a provision in there that they're not doing anything new or different. It doesn't specifically pertain to the MPC. So that was his response. Paragraph 22 says we are not establishing any new board and we are not circumventing any law. And it has nothing to do with the already established MBC.
So why is it there?
As I just said, to ensure that we are not establishing any new board and we are not circumventing any law.
We're not.
Template. We're not. And he got this language, I forget where he got it from, but this is standard language, so I'm going to defer to him. That I appreciate what you're saying, Councilor Conti, but if it's in there and it's in the template, I can't, why take it out? I mean, if it serves no purpose, that's fine. It doesn't seem to be doing any harm either.
Okay.
So I'm content with it. I'm content with it, and I would advocate again that Jack Jacoby had no issue with it. I'm fine with that particular provision. I don't think it does any harm. Yes, Councilor Reynolds.
So I guess I would just go along with Council Conti on this, that if it, I realize that Attorney Jacoby had no issue with it, but if it doesn't mean anything, and it's just wordsmithing for something, then I have no issue with it coming out either. So if it's of no purpose,
Well, I didn't say it was of no purpose. That
well, then
wasn't
I
his
guess,
response.
I guess that's what Councilor Conti is actually trying to point out. If it's there, and I realize Jack didn't think it was problematic, but if it isn't an issue or it doesn't really mean anything as he's suggesting, then why does it have to be there? You're saying it's a template,
That's my understanding.
but is it something that has to be in there? If that's something the state says has to be in there, then okay, I guess that has to be in there. But if it doesn't, then I'm all right with it coming out. Because what's it mean? You know, why
That's
is it
fine.
there? Can we check that out? And bring
We
it
can,
up?
I can go back again, and I
And
would
we'll
just say
hold it.
respectfully, I don't see the harm in that. I don't want to get into, I'm not trying to wordsmith at all. I'm trying to defer to somebody whose job it is to do this,
Yeah.
whose job it is to vet these procedures, whose job it is to be familiar with these procedures and the laws that apply, and to defer to his expertise and that of Jack Jacoby's as the chair, that it's not an issue, and I'm not looking for trouble where there doesn't seem to be any. But I will try to get you both, if you want me to sit on it, I will get you a more definitive answer as to its purpose and what would be the consequences, if any, of
If it came
removing
out.
it.
I mean, I hate to
Councilor
put it
Conti?
that.
You want
There's
a
no
clear-
rush. There's
a
no
clear-
rush.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to pass soon.
Fair enough, I will get you both a clear answer. Councilor Dolan.
So if you could just explain to me, maybe through the chair, like, I don't understand the issue with 22. I'm not sure what you're implying that what you're saying, like, I don't read it, I don't think I'm reading it like you're reading it. What is the issue with it? Like, can you somebody explain it to me? Because it's kind of,
I think it's unnecessary, plain and simple.
but other than being unnecessary, like, is there a reason?
I don't like it, but it's in there because it is unnecessary.
Okay, like, what, is there a word? Like, what are the
The whole
words?
paragraph, number 22, the whole thing.
I know, I read it.
Take it
like
out.
16 times.
What's wrong with taking it out?
So what's wrong with leaving it in?
I think it's unnecessary.
I mean, we have so many unnecessary words and everything that we do, we could, like, do this all day. I'm just trying to get
We can
clarification.
do it all night, Counselor, go right ahead.
I'm just trying to get clarification.
We got all night.
Because I've read it like 10 times, and I want to know
Keep talking.
what am I not seeing that others are seeing? And I don't know what you mean by keep talking. I think this is the only words I've said in this committee tonight, so I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get clarification for my own edification of what.
Okay. All right, thank you. Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. So I think part of what I remember from the discussion, there was some concerns around the MBC and how this would work, how they would work together, or, you know, is there a potential that the administration could say, no, I'm gonna agree with this committee, and then, or at times be agreeable to the MBC, like we were wondering about how they were gonna collaborate and work together. That was my understanding, is that?
That was my understanding as well, and it was made clear to me that that's not happening, that this isn't a usurpation of the NBC's jurisdiction in any way, and the administration proposed that sentence to paragraph 3 to ensure that, and I thought that was an adequate reply. Just for the record, Jack texted me during the meeting, he wants to try to call, but I won't call him right now. I'll just get a more definitive answer to your specific question as to the meaning of provision in 22 and the consequences, if any, of removing it. All right? But I don't think, can we establish at least that it doesn't impact the NBC? Does that address your concerns of the last meeting about potential negative impacts to the Municipal Building Commission? Are we good with that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well then we shall continue the conversation. All right, fair enough, then I will get the answer and report back. It's certainly not an emergency as far as I know. So that is all I have. The item, there's the item of the new business in there from November 1st about moving the agenda, moving the committee of the whole to after public hearings during regular meetings. We can discuss that. I don't have a motion for tonight, but does anybody have any concerns about moving that out at the next committee meeting?
I don't, do we need a public hearing for that?
No, because it's just amending our rules.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just draft the motion, make the change in our rules. I think it's a good change,
Yes.
and I'll do that at the next meeting. Anything else anybody wants to discuss about anything in the ordinances committee? No?
It was a good meeting.
All right, then, you've all exhausted me. It's, I move to adjourn at 7:50.
Second.
Thank you, Council Holmes. We're adjourned.
I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order at 7:50. Sitting on the committee are Councilors Cobus and Councilor Reynolds. I've invited two guests to address the committee this evening. If they would please come to the podium. We have with us tonight the Health Department Director and the city nurse, Beth and Allison. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Council. We are here tonight to answer any questions you have in regards to the last meeting with our request for the two board explorers for the department.
So you both watched the meeting. You saw the transaction that was occurring on the floor, the discussion. To refresh the memory of any viewers who may have missed the last meeting, the motion on the floor was for a $92,000 appropriation for two vehicles for the health department to be used by them for their daily activities. And there was questions as to, there were several questions. So perhaps you could address those.
Would you like me to read this?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like, oh, yes. Do you want me to?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So for those who don't know me, my name is Allison Brum. I'm the public health nurse. Nice to meet everyone. Dear municipal council members, we have written a letter to provide clarification pertaining to the health department's need for two vehicles. The health department is highly involved in inspections throughout the city and outreach services required to ensure the health and safety of all residents. Updating our vehicle fleet is a worthwhile investment, and we have 4 employees who would be using the requested 2 vehicles. At this time, we're currently sharing one vehicle, a 2007 Jeep, which is in poor condition. This vehicle has been surplus to the Parks and Forestry Department, where they can utilize it despite its condition. The Parks and Forestry Department is awaiting the Health Department receiving new vehicles so that they may transition to utilizing our Jeep. And additionally, I just wanted to clarify, because there was discussion about a box truck. We had a box truck purchased through COVID-19 emergency grant funding in 2021, and this truck was purchased to take advantage of the state of emergency funding that occurred during the pandemic, and it remains the property of the city as verified through the funding source. So with this, for the more pressing needs of the health department, the box truck is not practical. So for practicality and to avoid this vehicle sitting for long periods without use, we surplused it to the Parks and Forestry Department, where they currently use it. A vehicle of this type was on the Park and Forestry CIP, and this transfer from the health department actually eliminates the need for that $49,500 expenditure. So since the box truck was being utilized solely for storage needs by the prior public health nurse, we decided to transfer any materials within it to our storage container to be kept in a safer, secure, and easily accessible location. And lastly, we initially requested and inquired about hybrid Toyota RAV4s. Given the supply chain issues across the country, we were informed by multiple dealerships that these vehicles would not arrive in a reasonable time frame. So the 2 vehicles requested are readily available, and they remain highly useful investments for the city of Attleboro. So we did want to thank you for your time and attention to this matter. If you have any questions, we wanted to be here to answer them.
I see several questions. I saw Councilor Reynolds first, then Blaze.
So my only question is why didn't we get this like a month or 2 months ago? Because that one letter, for me, answered everything. It
Yes,
just made
that's what our
everything
aim
so
was.
clear.
Yes.
I mean, we piecemealed it, we were trying to get some, and then I got that today, read it today at home, and I went, oh, well, okay then.
It made it
So,
easy, right?
Perfect,
Yes.
so
And
thank
we do
you.
wish that we had provided the letter,
Earlier, it
so-
would have solved a lot of, I think.
and that's why we just wanted to be here today.
Thank you, thank you.
Councilor, you all set? Councilor DeSimone?
Thank you, Council Conti. Thank you for inviting Beth and Allison. I had the opportunity to talk to Allison the other day and Derek today And now I more fully appreciate, Derek said he has the van, and it's
Oh, and
awesome.
he's
It's
so
serving him
happy.
very well. He can transport animals in there, so that saved the city money there. So that offsets to some degree the cost of your vehicles. And I want to make clear that although they're expensive, that's not their fault, right? And it's the situation we're in. So I trust that you have the need for them. The cost I cannot hold against you, and I appreciate that it's offset by the van being transferred. And I too, thank you. Beth, I thought your email today pretty much was addressed everything. So I'm glad that we're here, and I'm glad you guys showed up. Thank you for your explanation. Thank you, Chair Conti.
Councilor Blair.
Would you kindly explain to me why you need two Explorer? Let me finish. I don't mean to be.
No, that's fine, don't worry.
Why you need two Explorers? You know, that's a pretty expensive unit. And it's a great unit, don't get me wrong. But what do you do with a regular car and a four-wheel drive unit? It just seems overkill. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Beth.
I just recently got here August the 1st, and I came from the town of Medway, and I had a Ford Focus.
Yeah.
And I used to run, even though I'm not the nurse, the fire department helped me out with most of my vaccination clinics. And I had to load my Ford Focus with everything, and it did not fit. I actually had, and I am a short person, so I go up to the front so my feet can touch the pedals. The back of my back seat was pushing. It was just packed, all the things I had to bring. There's so much that you have to bring for just in case when you have a flu clinic. The other reason, and that's for the nurse. The other reason why I would need it is I go out on pieces of property that it's woods with cut down trees to go to do perk tests and to go do inspections. And if it's wintertime and there's snow and there's ice, there is no way that I'm getting back there. And we do perk tests in the snow and in the ice and in the rain.
I would just like to follow up to that. For any emergencies that we have, it would be appropriate to have the two vehicles. We researched these very heavily to make sure that the impact on the environment, of course, they complied with the green contract, being hybrids. With that being said, having all-wheel drive,
In the winter
is helpful. Setting up for any clinics, health needs of the city that may come up, an emergency or not, just the daily operations, we found very appropriate.
No disrespect.
No, that's fine.
Too much money, and I think there's another avenue out there you could have gone to get two vehicles that wouldn't cost $92,000.
We are, and it is unfortunate about the price, given that we did research multiple dealerships. This was actually the best deal that we could find, and what would be available. Otherwise, there are supply chain issues that are very long-standing, and so we're trying to remain reasonable. We also see this as an investment in the city. So having these, big enough vehicles that are reliable and will last us a very long time, we thought as very appropriate. We're looking at as this an investment. Any needs that the health department comes up will be there. We do want reliable transportation.
In other words, you're telling me a regular van, like I keep saying Kia because I'm fairly familiar with the vehicle, haven't owned one. But a Kia Sorento, for instance, a van, that wouldn't serve your purpose.
So we actually looked with a list of specific vehicles in accordance with the green contract, so that they were, hybrid, they were good for the environment. We're very aware of that, and this was actually on the list and what was available. So
God bless you.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
I just,
Council Blair, you surrendering the floor?
oh, I'd love to. I'd like to surrender the seat, but go ahead.
Councilor Holmes, you have the floor, then Councilor Delacio will follow you.
Thank you. So two vehicles, thank you for the letter today. That was helpful. Or I read it today. I don't
You're very
remember what it
welcome.
So 2 vehicles and 4 staff members will be using them?
Yes.
Okay. One of the questions that was asked last week, so they'll remain at like one location or they'll go home with individual, depends?
Well, I am on 24-hour call, like was mentioned about Mr. Mooney, but I would prefer to not bring my car home. And I only live in, I won't say, but it's 9 miles away.
Okay.
There's really no room for me to park a vehicle. I'd have to park it off the street, and then I'd have no room to park my car off the street.
Okay.
And it takes me only 15 minutes to get here if there is an emergency.
Okay.
So they would remain here.
And then the box truck, I guess, I think it's great that Derek, we found a use for it in the city, but I guess, what was the thought process behind that? Were
I
you
have
both not
no
here?
idea, I was
Okay.
not here.
Okay, so that was,
Here as well.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's, you do feel like these vehicles are more in line with what would be helpful?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And truthfully, if I was here, I would have pushed for a vehicle that we're asking for
Okay.
as a more practical, because to even drive that, you need a special license. So it was used solely for storage, actually, and we have a safe container off-site where everything's kept much more secure.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Delicio.
It's more of a comment than a question. Just want to thank you both. Again, as stated, I raised some of the concerns about, I believe I said to the chair, made a great case for 1, but not about the 2. I think the way you put this, 2 separate rules, 2 separate uses for the vehicles, a need to be able to get there quickly. The 2007, actually, I do have a question if I may. How many miles?
I think it's 89,000.
89,000, and it's used pretty regularly, so, yeah, I think the need makes sense. The way you position the letter makes sense, so you've answered my questions satisfactorily, so thank you.
Anyone else have questions for our guests? Thank you both for appearing in front of the committee. You can relax, take a seat. We'll vote on it in committee tonight. It'll be in front of the full council next week, and then it takes, the mayor needs to sign it afterwards, so he'll let you know how things have gone.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you.
So, Councilor Cobus and Councilor Reynolds, from the docket of October 18, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the transfer of $92,000 from 11241-000-578380 Citywide Reserve Fund for Capital to account 15101-000-587065 Health Purchase Vehicle for the purchase of 2 vehicles, tentatively Ford Explorers for the Health Department, consistent with the city's green communities policy.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Cobus. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. From the docket of November 15, 2022, I entertain a motion to authorize the payment of 4 fiscal year 22 invoices to the Sun Chronicle in the amounts of $197.80, $156.40, $400.29, and $179.40 from various funds. No transfers needed. Money is available in each fund.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Cobus. You all read the memo from Jeremy, I believe, that he detailed and showed us the invoice from the Sun Chronicle. Do you have any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. From the docket of November 15, 2022, I entertain a motion to authorize the school department to pay previous year's school bill totaling $79.40 from Carl's Office Supplies from fiscal year 22.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Cobus. In looking at the invoice, it looks like someone transposed the last 2 PO numbers, which caused a glitch in the processing, and I'm sure that's what happened there. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and that completes the business that the Finance Committee has to do tonight. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Cobus. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I declare the Finance Committee adjourned at 8:04. Thank you.
I'd like to call Public Works to order at 8:04. I have 2 items this evening from the docket of November 15th, 2022. I entertain a motion to transfer $250 from account 6000-578-300 wastewater enterprise fund, reserve fund for transfer to account 6000-578-020 wastewater enterprise fund, previous year's bills for an FY '22 invoice to Franklin Miller.
Second?
Thank you. So this is to pay shipping charges that were more than expected. They came in higher than estimated, so that's what this $250 is for. Does anybody have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. From the docket of November 5th, 2022, I entertain a motion to transfer $4,683.10 from account 11241-000-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 163-01000-558-330 Recreation Copiers to fund a copy machine for the Recreation Department.
Second.
So I wasn't initially gonna call Dennis on this, but I'm like, this is kind of a lot. Anyway, I guess it's not a lot. It's the same copier they have now, that's old, like, I think you said it was 15 years old. It's basically the same exact replacement, and I guess trotting on down to City Hall isn't very convenient for them. So that's what this is for. Does anybody have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. And before I adjourn, I just have one quick little thing I want to talk about, just super quick. And I'm probably going to have Mike Tyler down next week early because he contacted me about the light at Rathburn Willard. So he stood before us, said everything's great, everything's installed, we're good to go. Well, apparently that's not the case. So he contacted me while I was trying to get here, like it was complete last minute. I tried to take some notes. So apparently let me see. So the electric company that was planned, so they looked over the plans for the engineering company, so on and so forth. Yes, everything's great, that'll jive, so on and so forth. Now, no. So he wanted me to make everybody aware, A, because the traffic that you're sitting in now, he doesn't want you to think that that's forever because there's an issue. So there's a receiver pole between County Square and Rathburn, and apparently it's not working properly, like it's not close enough. So again, I don't want to say a ton because I don't want to misinform anybody, but he wanted me to let everybody know that he was under the impression that everything was good. Everything was in place and properly working, and that's not the case. Apparently there was a meeting between the company, the mayor, the chief of police, Mike, and I guess it wasn't good. So, no fault of DPW in any way, shape, or form. They approved it to form, and it's not working properly. So, Mike will be here to answer any questions, and again, I don't want to get too far into it. I don't want to give you any wrong information, but the traffic that you're sitting in now is not the way it's supposed to be. So, hopefully it'll only get better once we get everything fixed.
Good to know. It was pretty good.
So I just wanted to make everybody aware, and I'll have Mike here to clarify everything. He just wanted to let us know that in no way was he trying to mislead us, which of course we wouldn't think that. But anyway, does anybody have any questions about that? All right, so I'll have Mike here next week. And that's all I have for business, and I'd like to call for an adjournment at 8:08.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Council Dolan, can you cancel traffic and transportation, please?
Sure, traffic and transportation is canceled this evening.
IT and Infrastructure Committee is canceled tonight.
Zoning and land use committees canceled this evening?
City Property and Claims Committee, I would like to call it to order at 8:09. From the docket of November 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the following generous donations to Attleboro City Schools. Art supplies, 364-inch plates, 125 8-ounce water-based fast-drying assorted paints, and 1,441-inch sponge paintbrushes with an estimated value of $700 from the Home Depot in Attleboro. Also, 60 hardback copies of My Favorite Book in the Whole Wide World by Malcolm Mitchell for the second grade students at Studley Elementary School at $8.99 a book, equaling $539.40 from the Share the Magic Foundation, and another 90 hardback copies of My Favorite Book in the Whole Wide World by Malcolm Mitchell for the second grade students at Thatcher Elementary School, $8.99 a book, equaling $809.10 from the Share the Magic Foundation.
Second.
Thank you. Again, we always appreciate these kind of donations, and I'm sure the Attleboro City Schools are looking forward to it as well. Any questions or concerns regarding this? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to yay.
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 All those opposed? Okay, that motion passes. I lost my train of thought, so you'll have to forgive me. From the docket of November 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to declare the following miscellaneous office equipment surplus and available for disposition: 1 copy machine, 4 chairs, 21 file cabinets, and 5 tables.
Second.
Thank you. Again, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions or concerns?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. So from the docket of October 18th, 2022, I entertain a motion to declare as surplus and available for disposition 2,586 miscellaneous pieces of furniture and equipment and food service equipment from the Attleboro Public Schools. The largest number of items are desks and desks with chairs. There's also miscellaneous clocks and blackboards and bookshelves, but there are 2,586 items that are being declared as surplus and available for disposition. Okay, any questions, concerns?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. And I entertain a motion from the docket of October 18th, 2022. I entertain a motion to declare surplus and available for disposition miscellaneous items that the Attleboro Public Schools would like to declare as surplus in order to donate the items to nonprofit organizations in accordance with Section 2-12C of the revised city ordinances. And then,
Second.
yeah, that's part that. So do you understand what that's saying? That's just so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That motion passes. Then to add to it, from the docket of October 18th, 2022, I entertain a motion to approve the request to have the miscellaneous school items listed below donated to nonprofit organizations in accordance to Section 2-12C of the revised city ordinances. And this will require, obviously, a majority vote. I'll read these. So the surplus items are, which will be motion 3. The items to be declared as surplus is title work. The location of the item is the principal's lobby at 100 Rathburn Willard Drive, and the entity that will receive the item is the Blue Pride Ambassadors Club to distribute to artists. Motion 4, the items are Bray Auditorium letters, courtyard garden memorials, and Torsiello bench. The location of the item is the superintendent's lobby at 100 Rathburn Willard Drive, the courtyard at 100 Rathburn Willard Drive for 2 of the items. And then they will be going to the Blue Pride Ambassadors Club, and then will be returned to respective donors. Motion 5 are war plaques, and they are located in the superintendent's lobby, 100 Rathburn Willard Drive, and they will be going to the VFW Preservation Society. Motion 6, they are leftover material markups, old CIS textbooks and equipment, photographs adorning the walls in the Blue Pride Bistro. They are located in the CIS lab at 100 Rathburn Willard Drive, and the BPB at 100 Rathburn Willard Drive, and they will be going to the Industrial Museum for historical preservation.
Second.
Thank you. Again, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. It's just a lot of things that are left over since the old school was knocked down, and they're going to go back to some rightful owners. Any questions or concerns?
Nope.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. That motion passes. From the docket of and that is all the business City Property and Claims has this evening. And I would call for, what am I calling for an adjournment?
Second.
Thank you. We will adjourn if all those are in favor
Aye.
at 8:15. We are adjourned. And I would, go ahead. No, I'm set.
Call Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee at 8:15. Members present, Council Waterman and Council Blair. All right, from the docket of November 15th, 2022, I entertain a motion to transfer $6,100 from account 112-41000-578300, Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 116-11000-511000, clerk salaries in order to fund a multi-week overlap of 2 individuals in a single position in the city clerk's office. Thank you, sir. This is basically to, we have a person retiring in the clerk's department, and they are going to help train the person that's taken over. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Very reasonable.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That's it for Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee. I call for an adjournment at 8:16.
Second.
Thank you, sir. We are adjourned. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We adjourned.
Reporting Public Safety Committee. I have one motion this evening from the docket of November 15, 2022. I entertain a motion to transfer $5,122.29 from account 1124100-578300, Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1210100-558203, Police Photographic Supplies, to purchase an ID machine with associated materials.
Second.
We discussed it when it comes down. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is for the ID badges they make up for all city employees that have to have them. And it's old and needs replacing. About covers it. Any other questions or anything? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, and we are adjourned at 8:18.
Special Committee on Tax Abatement Review is canceled tonight.
Special Committee on Classification Compensation is no business tonight.
Are we done?
That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.